Well, hi, this is Pete, and today I'm with Dave Gammon of Sleeping Tiger Coaching and Training. And we're going to talk about the 3 real reasons why people won't sell and, of course, what you can do about it. So, Dave, are you on the line?
I am, yes. How are you doing, Pete?
Hi, thanks, great. And thanks for joining us. This is going to be a really interesting few minutes that we spend together. So I'll shut up and let you kick off with the 3 real reasons. Off you go.
Yeah, but just to give you a bit of background, one of the things I've found fairly consistently with the companies I've worked with is that anyone that doesn't have the word sales in their job title appears to be particularly challenged around any type of conversation with a customer that might involve talking about what else they might buy from the company. And it's been a challenge in almost every industry I've worked within. But more recently, what's been curious to me is a couple of my clients, and particularly an old client of mine, has come back and asked me to do a specific program of work around getting their staff to be more engaging with their customers with a view to selling more things to them. And so one of the things I've done in the past with clients is I've trained, we've come up with scripts for people to use, we've trained them in the scripts, and what we typically find, Pete, is that for a few days people do it and they start to talk to customers and the odd lead comes in and the odd upsell comes in, and then it drifts off and it dies. So it kind of forced me really to explore a little bit about what's going on underneath, and therefore, what are these genuine reasons why people seem reluctant to sell?
Okay.
And the thing I've observed is that it's nothing to do with mechanics, it's nothing to do with process. Everyone can use a telephone, everyone can speak to people. So what we've got is clearly a challenge that's going on in people's minds here.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I spoke to some of my customers' teams and spoke to the individuals concerned, I began to notice that there were kind of 3 things that fairly consistently came up as these sort of barriers to why they don't want to sell. So the first one is how well your team actually understand the products and services you sell, but particularly what benefits those products and services really give to the customers. And so as soon as we sat down, so my first tip for anyone is sit down with your team and go through every product and every service you sell and have a conversation around what benefits does that give the customer, the person buying it, and make sure everyone kind of gets the value to the customer as opposed to just being able to describe what the product is.
Right, this is the old features versus benefits discussion, isn't it?
Totally, it's classic sales stuff, this, but what really does surprise me is because a lot of the staff in a lot of my clients, don't really understand what their customers do and what their customers' lives and challenges are all about. They can often find it hard to relate the benefits of the services into the specific customers. More so, I have to say, with business-to-business selling than with business-to-consumer. But right. I think it's common across both.
There's a tip I could share here as well, which we use it, and we call it the so what test. So you say something, and then you add the question, so what, and then answer it. So if you're selling photocopiers, I know it does 2,500 pages a minute. Well, that's a feature, but so what? So that you can get your job done quickly and get home before 6 o'clock might be a benefit to the customer. I don't know, you'd have to come up with it. But it's so what does it do for them rather than what does it do?
And actually, I find sometimes you have to ask "so what" several times in each feature until you really get to this is why it's valuable for the customer. But absolutely, that's the sort of exercise that I do. Is what does this do to make the customer's life easier or to make their business more profitable?
Brilliant. So that's tip number 1. Then make sure they're acquainted with not just what the products do, but what they do for the customer in terms of benefits. So tip number 2.
Absolutely. So tip number 2. Is about understanding what's going on with people when in their mind when it comes to their relationship with these customers. So I don't know about you, but I can remember clear as day when I was a child, my mother saying to me, "Don't speak unless you're spoken to, and don't talk to strangers." Mm-hmm. And although those statements in themselves sound fairly innocuous, they're hard coded in us. and they actually present at a subconscious level. It's not something we're necessarily aware of, but it creates a barrier in us about engaging in relationships with people that we don't know. Mm-hmm. And I think the challenge then is exacerbated by most small businesses doing most of their customer service work or their account management work over the telephone. So you've got the absence of all of the normal sort of visual cues when you're face-to-face with someone. And so what I find is getting teams comfortable with just asking questions and actually listening is in itself a huge training exercise. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things I do with my clients is I get the teams to do exercises where they just ask questions of each other and just listen. Because actually I think there's a lot of people out there that just haven't had enough training or grounding in that. You know, at school we're taught to pretty much sit, listen and shut up and not to put our hand up, not to ask questions because we don't want to be exposed as the dummy. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really important to get your teams comfortable and even brainstorming, you know, what are the top 10 questions we should be asking our customers when we're on the phone to them, and what of these questions can we pick in different scenarios to use with customers. And just getting people used to the idea that asking questions is actually a good thing. And as you know, in sales, it's vital because it's what helps us understand what's really driving the customer and what the customer really needs.
Sure. So ask questions rather than just try and do the hard sell is a great tip. We're coming towards the end of our time together today, but we've got one more which I know we mustn't miss out on.
Okay, well, straight into it really. So my final tip is confront what people really think about selling. Because as I see it, the single biggest barrier here is that the whole idea of sales and salesmanship has a very poor connotation in most people's minds. Most of us think of salespeople as pushy, aggressive, money-oriented, all the things we like people not to think we are. So actually having a conversation and actually eliciting from your team what they really think about sales, and then giving them some examples where actually, you know, the role of sales is purely to help the customer make a decision. And when people start to get that mindset, you see they become more comfortable with the idea of engaging customers in these types of conversations.
So to sell is to serve, really?
Totally. And funny enough, the program that I'm just running with one of my clients at the moment is called the Sales Through Service program. So what we're saying is by better service and by asking questions and building relationship, you will encourage more sales from that customer.
Fantastic. I wholeheartedly agree. Dave, as I say, we're just about to run out of time now, but I'd like you just to spend a couple of moments and tell people how they can contact you if they want to learn more about this fascinating subject.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. I'm sure, Pete, you'll provide the link to my website, but the simplest thing really, I've written a book called The Sleeping Tiger Revolution, which contains some ideas that we've talked about today, as well as some other areas of business that are considered. But also the easiest thing, if people are curious, is just to drop me an email at dave@sleepingtiger.co.uk, and I'll happily engage and have a conversation with you about what I know about this area.
That's brilliant. Dave, thanks so much for your time, and I will put the links underneath the video, so hopefully people will be able to get some more information directly from you. Thanks for your time, Dave.
You're welcome, Pete. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Cheers.